There's a certain kind of ambition that doesn't announce itself with a single mechanic or a single promise, but with scale, not just map size, not just graphical fidelity, but thematic scale. A world that feels like it existed long before you arrived and will continue long after you leave. Well, that's the feeling surrounding Crimson Desert, and it's why this project has quietly transformed from curiosity into one of the most intriguing large-scale RPGs on the horizon. Crimson Desert initially raised eyebrows because many assumed it was or would simply be another MMO in the same lineage. That assumption has long since been corrected. What Perlabiz is building here is a single-player, open-world action RPG with multiplayer elements layered in carefully, not an always online grind machine, and that distinction matters. It signals intent, it signals narrative focus, it signals a desire to tell a story rather than just a host, a world. Crimson Desert sits in the continent of Pewil, which is a land fractured by war, political tension, and ambition. You play as Cliff, captain of the Greymanes, a hardened mercenary leader navigating a landscape where loyalty is fragile and survival is never guaranteed. From the outset, the tone leans towards grounded medieval grit rather than high fantasy whimsy. This is not a bright heroic tale about destiny calling, it's about mercenaries, power struggles, and a world held together by shifting alliances and steel. One of the first things that stands out in every gameplay showcase so far is the physicality of the combat. Perlabiz is using its Black Space engine, and the result is animation work that feels weighty and reactive. Characters stumble when struck. As you can see, armors dent and shift, blades clash with impact rather than sliding through enemies like visual effects. Combat appears to blend swordplay, grappling, range attacks, and even environmental interactions in ways that feel almost cinematic without becoming scripted. There's an intensity to the encounters that suggests a system built around momentum and positioning rather than simple button repetition. What truly sets Crimson Desert apart, however, is its apparent refusal to be one-dimensional. The world of Pewil is not a static battlefield, apparently. It is dynamic and layered. We've seen massive sieges unfolding across castle walls, intimate tavern brawls, open-world cavalry clashes, and even moments of traversal that border on acrobatic spectacle. Cliff can scale structures, leap across rooftops, and interact with the environment in ways that feel more modern than traditional medieval RPGs. This blend of grounded setting with fluid movement creates sort of a tone that is both classical and contemporary. And visually, the game is striking. The landscape stretch from snow-covered mountains to some dense forests, coastal cliffs spattered by stormy seas, deserts. Weather systems apparently shift very dramatically, affecting visibility and mood. Villages feel live-in rather than staged, with NPCs going about routines that suggest the world functioning independently of the player. Perlabiz has made it clear that immersion is central of their philosophy here, and the footage so far reflects that commitment. The lighting alone, especially during sunrise and storm sequences, really does give the game's world an almost perfect quality. On another hand, narratively, Crimson Desert appears to be rooted in human conflict rather than purely mythical stakes. While fantasy elements certainly exist, the heart of the story revolves around power, loyalty, betrayal, and the burdens of leadership. Cliff is not positioned as a chosen one, he is a man trying to hold together a mercenary band in a land where ambition can get you killed. And that grounded focus could give the game emotional weight that goes beyond large-scale warfare. It opens a door to personal arcs, the Greymanes, conflicts among comrades, and decisions that affect not just territory but relationships. And another fascinating layer is the scale of its encounters. The battles showcased so far are enormous and varied, ranging from armored warlords to fantastical creatures that tower over the battlefield. Yet even in those moments, the emphasis seems to remain on physical interaction rather than abstract damage numbers. You grapple, climb, dodge, struck in ways that feel tactile. It sort of evokes a sense of struggle rather than spectacle for spectacle's sake. The world design also suggests a careful balance between exploration, freedom, and narrative guidance. Crimson Desert does not appear to be chasing the endless checklist formula that has become common in open world games. Instead, it looks to offer a dense map filled with meaningful activities, side stories, and emergent events. Hustling, crafting, siege warfare, and even minigames have been teased, but the presentation implies these systems are meant to enrich immersion rather than distract from the core journey. We think what makes Crimson Desert particularly is its evolution. Originally revealed years ago in a very different form, this project was restructured, delayed, reimagined, and that willingness to pivot suggests a studio aiming higher than its initial blueprint. And rather than rushing out an unfinished experience, Paralympics appears to have doubled down on polish and identity. In an industry where live service pressure often accelerates timelines, Crimson Desert's extended development hints at ambition rather than compromise. There's also a certain confidence in how the game presents scale. Massive siege battles with hundreds of soldiers that do not feel like background noise, they took integral to the narrative fabric. The dash is still, the roar of cavalry, the collapse of fortifications, all distribute to a sense that pivotal the game's world is in turmoil. And yet, amid that chaos, quieter moments persist. A lone rider across a fog-covered plain, a conversation beside a campfire, dense navigation in a big hole. These contrasts are what give epic worlds emotional grounding. Crimson Desert's release, however, has shifted over time, with current expectations pointing toward a major launch push in the near future. While delays can test patience, they often benefit projects of this scale. The ambition on display demands refinement, and the footage so far suggests the game striving, not just for competence, but for distinction. Ultimately, well, what makes Crimson Desert exciting is not one single feature, but its cohesion, the grounded mercenary narrative, the dynamic open world, the physical combat system, the visual fidelity all seem to serve a unified vision. This is not fantasy escapism in its brightest form, it is a harsh, weather-beaten world where survival depends on strength, strategy, and loyalty. Anyway, if Paralympics delivers on that vision, Crimson Desert could stand alongside the most memorable modern RPGs not because it copies their structure, but because it carves its own identity. It promises a land where steel feels heavy, alliances feel fragile, and every horizon invites both opportunity and danger. And when players step into the game's world as Cliff, they may find not just another open world to conquer, but a world that demands to be endured.